I was sitting in my office the other day. It's been a pretty difficult week, and I suddenly felt a presence in the room with me. She did not speak, but I knew who she was by name. It was Peace. She'd come to be with me in that quiet moment. I said, "Where did you come from?" She just smiled. It was one of those grins that gives you that feeling that someone is about to let you in on a really good secret. I'd been reading the words of the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu for just at that time. It says, if there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. And if there's to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. And if there's to be peace in the cities, there must be peace in the home. And if there's to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Now, it didn't say anything about there being peace in my office. But there she was, and there I was, and there was no denying it. It had been a while since I'd felt her presence. As a person focused much of my life on helping to bring harmony within the human family and understanding. It's been a tough season with all the divisions going on in our country and in our world. She asked me, "What's the matter, Marlin?" I explained, "This is not what I want for our world, for our nation." A few years ago, I thought that we were heading towards a greater time of fairness and understanding. Marriage equality became the law of our land. America had elected an African American as president. I guess I thought at that time we were heading onward and upward forever, but now it seems we're more divided than ever. "Well, you can't always get what you want," she said. It seemed a little callous that she would say such a thing to me, so I replied, "Well, I know you can't always get what you want. I learned that when I was 8 years old, when my mother told me that I could be anything I want when I grow up." "Anything?" I asked. "Yes, honey, you can be anything." And I said, "Good, then I'm going to be a zebra." That's when I learned the limits, that we can't be anything that we want. As I grew up, it became more apparent that you might be able to get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Do you remember that song, Alice's Restaurant? Rick, do you remember that song?
Well, yeah, I think I could even sing it a little bit. It goes like, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Yes.
Sing along.
You can get anything you want at Alice's. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want
at Alice's Restaurant. All right. But in real life, it's not quite like that. I mean, there was another song around the same time that came out that said, I think it was the Rolling Stones, "You can't always get what you want."
I need your help. You can't always get what you want. Come on, let me hear you. You can't always get what you want. That's it, come on. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, what is it? You get what you need.
Yeah, so it's sort of confusing. It's like, can we get everything we want, or we can't get what we want? And so I sort of brought this up since I had the opportunity with Peace right there before me, and she said, "That's why I'm here." "What do you mean?" I said. And she explained, peace comes from realizing the difference between getting what you want and getting what you need. Say more about that, would you? I asked, because not getting what I want does not leave me feeling peaceful. If you ask me, getting what we want makes people feel happy, makes them feel content. "Oh, Reverend," she said with some condescension in her voice. Happiness is a fleeting emotion. Getting what you want might make you feel happy and content briefly, but it doesn't last. Real joy and peace is not fleeting. It's a deep spiritual foundation for our life. Do you mind if I take notes? I asked, knowing that I could use some of this in my message this morning. Go right ahead. Here's something you'll want to write down, she said. Peace comes from finding your path, not directing it. I said, oh, that's a good one. Okay, peace comes from finding your path and not from directing it. I got it. Good. Now, what do you mean by that, though? I'm a little confused. But she says, well, too many people are busy trying to get what they want, but they fail to discover who they are first. That's what happens. That's then what happens is that when somebody gets what they want, they discover that they're still not satisfied because they're chasing the wrong dream. They don't even know who they are, let alone what they really want. People can be like dogs, chasing after cars over and over for their whole life. When they finally catch what they've been chasing, they realize it's not really very satisfying. What they thought they wanted is not what brings them real peace, not what brings them inner joy and satisfaction. Well, how do we know that we're chasing the right dream, I asked, Well, you have to pay attention and try to discover your fate. Too many people are trying to create their fate rather than discovering it. Wait a minute now, time out. Fate? We modern people don't generally believe in fate. That's because you don't understand it, she said. Well, I've got my notebook right here. What is fate? Think of it this way, she says. The reason certain people don't like the word fate is that they think what it means is that you don't have any control over your destiny. Right, I said. But that's not what it means, she explained. Your fate has to do with your life's purpose, your calling, if you will. Every person has some unique talent, some gift, some way of being, something about themselves that they can use to support the common good and other people in their lives. Every person gets to choose to use those unique aspects of who they are, either to help others and make the world better or to use them for their own selfish aims. But what people do not get to choose is what are those things that make them tick, that bring them alive. Gifts like Tommy on the saxophone or Rick Fortner on the piano or conducting a choir. There's just people have some talents that they had no idea maybe what they were, and they discover them, and it's beautiful, and we have an opportunity to give them back or to use them for ourselves. But in the best of all worlds, people get opportunities to find and discover what their innate gifts and talents are. But the thing that we do not get is we don't get a chance to choose who we are and what it is that we're good at. Now, despite your mother's well-meaning encouragement, she said, you cannot be anything you want to be. That's to say, if you want inner peace and inner joy. If you want to know peace and joy in a real way, you must discover and be what you're meant to be. But what if a person doesn't know, I said, who they are or what they're meant to be? If they're still searching, that's fine. She explained that my friend Joy and I, we love a good adventure of discovery. The process of uncovering a person's purpose is delightful. The point is that a person needs to be in conversation with life, with God, if you have a sense of the divine. In that conversation with one's life, in conversation with our surroundings, we have the best chance of discovering our life's path. The discovery, that's part of the path. The problem with some people is that instead of seeking their path, they try to become highway engineers. These people try hard to draw their own plans for their life without being in conversation with life itself. Now, I know something about that, I explained. I knew people when I was in seminary who had their mind set that they wanted to be a minister. That was what they were called to do. And yet it was clear to everyone around them that they were not cut out to be a minister. Their teachers would tell them. Other people would share that with them. But they were so determined that they wanted to do what they wanted to do that they failed to realize that it wasn't their calling. It's not that they didn't have a calling. It's just that being in a parish ministry, at least, was not what that calling was. And so, not being able to hear, they found themselves becoming very miserable, maybe having a lot of debt, not knowing what they were going to do, failing in their ministries or churches. Now, I meet people all the time who are unhappy with their lives. They thought that they wanted to be a doctor or an engineer or a social worker or a police officer, or in some cases, they didn't care what they did. They just wanted to make a lot of money. But they came to find out as they reached their goals that they were not happy. They still were not at peace. Ah, said peace, but this is about much more than just a person's job. This is a lesson about life, about marriage, about children, and about much more. Nietzsche said, love your fate. The point is not getting what you want. The point is loving what you have. Oh, that's good, I said. Let me get my notebook out. It's not about getting what you want. It's about loving what you have. Peace, she said, comes from embracing who you are and loving what you have. It's very common for a person to find that they're not in the story that they wanted to be in or that they expected to be in at any given moment in their lives, but yet it's the story that they're in. People who get divorced or people whose parents get divorced, when it happens, it's usually not what they want, but it's the story that they're in. People whose loved ones get dementia, or if we get dementia as a person, if our children fall into trouble or illness or addiction, victims of violence or neglect, it's not what anyone wants. And yet peace comes when a person stops longing to turn back the hands of time and instead begins to look forward, asking now, what is it that I need? What do I need to live fully, to do my part somehow now in the family of things? How can I live now in a way that's find some peace and harmony and goodness in the life that I have, the real life that I have, rather than trying to be in complete control of what my life is. Now, peace, she said, will sit down with you when you decide to finally take God off the witness stand, if you will, when you stop trying to get an explanation for why me? Why now? Why this way? And start to live life as a mystery unfolding rather than as a play that you're in charge of directing, she said. It's the difference between getting what you want and living your purpose despite what you get. Now, feeling the need to give peace a chance. That's another song, isn't it? To give peace a chance.
Indeed. All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying
is give peace a chance. Now, I was just trying to give peace a chance to see that I know something about this subject. And so I said, it's kind of like Lot's wife in the Bible, who looks back and is turned into a pillar of salt. If we spend our lives looking back at what we wanted and did not get, then we end up becoming frozen and stuck. But if we live our lives in the present and we face forward, embracing our future, then peace becomes a part of our lives. You got it, said peace, having finally shed some of the condescension in her voice. She went on to remind me that this is the Advent season right now in the Christian world. It's a time of anticipating the birth of Jesus, who is considered by many to be the Prince of Peace. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, I said. You know, he was born, he died. Many say he was resurrected, but where's this peace that supposedly is his promise? What am I, chopped liver, she said? Well, the condescension currently returning to her voice. I said, okay, there's you, who appears once in a while, occasionally. But I want to know how Jesus is still revered by many as the Prince of Peace when the world continues to be such a bloody mess. Well, Reverend, have you ever noticed how the Christmas story is filled with people who don't get what they want, but they get what they need? You mean like Mary, who I guess did not choose to become pregnant out of wedlock? Yes, or like Joseph, who certainly didn't want that for his fiancée. That whole thing, think about it, was an embarrassment, and it certainly did not go according to their plans of what they wanted. They certainly did not want to have to travel to Bethlehem for the census to be taken in her 9th month of pregnancy. Have you ever tried riding a donkey across the desert, she asked? It's uncomfortable in the best of circumstances. But imagine if you're pregnant and about to go into labor. It's probably what set her into labor. Who knows? You sound like you speak from experience, I say. The smile returned to Peace's face. Very funny, she said. Remember, she continued, finding that there was no room in the inn and having to sleep in a manger with all the animals and eventually giving birth in that stinky manger was not what they wanted either. Now, wait a minute. Are you telling me that the Christmas story has something to do with learning to embrace your purpose despite the fact that you don't always get what you want? There's hope for you yet, Reverend, she said. Now, I still don't understand, though, this Prince of Peace concept. Everybody, she said, back in Jesus' time thought that the Messiah would come like a king and usher in a time of peace and justice, but it didn't happen that way. 2,000 years later, the world still doesn't have peace or justice. What are we supposed to make of that, I said. You can go ahead and put down your notebook, Peace Explained, because you're not going to need it. It's the same story. Do you think the people got the Messiah that they wanted and expected? No. But they got the Messiah that they needed. Jesus did not come as a king to usher in a time of world peace as they expected. He came as an itinerant rabbi who taught people a way to live with peace in their hearts and in their homes and in their communities by loving one another, by forgiving one another, by showing kindness to their neighbors, by even seeking to love their enemies. All of this, these are the handmaidens of peace. The disciples of Jesus definitely did not get what they wanted, or they expected. They didn't think their leader was going to die young and leave them all behind to try to keep teaching this to the world. Yet, even though they didn't get what they wanted, they got what they needed. And so did the world. He left a roadmap for peace that passes understanding, a peace that's available to anyone, anytime, as we learn to live with love in our hearts. And with those words and a sweet smile, peace left her place there upon my couch and took up residence in my heart. And as I was discussing all this with a member of the church a little while later, he said, I can't count how many times I've come to the church in tears on a Sunday morning because for one reason or another, I didn't get what I wanted. Because some aspect of my life did not turn out the way that I would have chosen. And each time I left feeling a little bit more connected to my destiny, to my life, to possibility. In this season, when people all around the world are celebrating and anticipating the coming of the Lord, may you make room in your own heart for peace to dwell. You cannot get everything you want, not even at Alice's restaurant. But you can know peace and joy if you're willing to find the conversation that you're in with life. If you're willing to embrace the story you're in rather than the one that you might have expected or might have chosen if you could. It's the secret to finding real peace. Peace as a spiritual companion that walks with us through all of our days. May she live in your heart. May she live in your home through every season. Amen.
You're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving. So please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256 or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed.
and be a blessing.